Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday show on the YouTubes. I'm Hammer, and I'm joined by my two favorite Wednesday show hosts, Jen C. Maxey.
Hello.
And Terry DeMantis.
Hello.
How you doing, Jen?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I am well. Terry, how are you?
Oh, yes, same as always.
You're not tired?
Well, I said same as always.
So that's a yes. Why don't we go ahead and say hello to chat and get to some of the topics for tonight.
Just double check that I got the live chat. One of the things I like about YouTube.
I caught you guys unprepared.
No. If you refresh YouTube, sometimes it'll take the live chat and go back to top chat, and you're like, you want live chat?
That's so annoying.
It is so annoying.
I wish they'd let you just fix that. Like, I need live chat. I don't need top chat.
Nobody
No,
does.
and they want you to have the censored version, so they're going to make it as difficult as possible to not have it.
Exactly.
So over on Rumble, we've got JB, we've got Jack Dunsky, we've got Kevadam, Mr. Yes.
Yes, hi, Jack.
Lots of scrolling. Some dark-skinned individual that shall go without name, and I think that's everyone. As always, if I missed you, I apologize.
You're on, Chad.
Alrighty. I had to catch my breath because I didn't want to burp for some reason. Okay, I've been drinking too much soda. Hi, Hammer. How are you doing, Hammer? Don't drink as much soda as I have. Hi, Mike. How are you? Hi, Kevadam. Hi, Mr. Yes. Hi, Rotten. I kind of did that a little bit backwards. I blame myself. Hi, Tier. And hi, Jack. I hope you all are well. All of a sudden, I want to call you Burnty Bones for some reason, Tier. I don't know why.
Burnty Bones?
Burnty Bones.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Quickly, the topics for tonight. Excuse me. Bipartisan. Whitmer and Trump get together for a quick moment. Deal. Looks like there's going to be some movement in the Ukraine-U.S. miners deal, mining materials deal. Tariffs. Tariffs. There's all kinds of news going on there. And I have a fourth topic that we didn't really talk about Trump's lawsuit with Paramount. So those are things on the scale for tonight. Unless you guys have something else to talk about.
Well, just to quickly address Mr. Yes, Gumby. I forgot all about that show.
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
that is a classic kids show from Australia.
What do they call that? From the kind of animation, stop motion animation?
Claymation, I guess.
Claymation. That's it. Yeah, because they're all made of clay.
There's an expression, paint me green and call me Gumby, which makes me laugh every time I hear it. It's kind of like, well, I'll be. There's well, paint me green and call me Gumby. It's like
Gumby was green?
Mm-hmm.
He was, yes. And he had a red dog named Pokey.
I thought he was like a bluish color. Boy, am I going back
No,
a long
he's
way.
green. And the other one was cut off my legs and call me Shorty.
Okay.
That
Which always made me laugh.
could also have been the TV reception, Hammer.
He has some weird things going on with when it comes to naming characters like that. I remember it was a Graham Norton show, and somebody who was from Australia was on. I can't remember who it was. One of the Liam or Chris, the guy who played Thor. The hell's his name? Last name begins with an H. Can't remember. Well, I think it was one of them.
Chris Happy
saying,
Meal. Let's go with that.
I think he said something like, "There's a phrase in Australia that says we're not here to fuck spiders," or something like that. I don't know if that's true or not, but
I haven't heard that one, but it sounds
like sound advice.
Some of the things you guys come up with is pretty funny. Nobody. Oh, Hempstead, right? Chris Hempstead. Who am I thinking of?
I will let chat answer because I don't know modern actors.
They're still talking about Gumby. Hemsworth.
Hemsworth.
Ding, ding, ding. Tyler, Tier gets it.
No. He said Hemsworth. I think that's a
Close
different
enough.
person.
Close enough. Hemsworth. It's got to be right. Hey, Siri. The star of Thor. Oh, great. You're useless.
Gives you the autistic answer. Okay. Yeah. Yes. You're right. Yeah, it was.
Chris Hemisphere.
Yeah, that's him.
I think they're just misspelled. Hemsworth.
He does that a lot.
Or he just wants to mutilate the name because he does that.
Hemisphere. You guys are a lot of help. I really appreciate it.
Oh, Chris Hamster. Everyone loves Chris Hamster. Yes, I don't watch movies and I don't know modern day actors, so
I just know they used him in the weirdest way in the 2016 version of the Ghostbusters movie, which I didn't watch. I didn't need to. I saw enough clips where I was like, you guys really thought that the ginger was retarded from
I can believe
Ghostbusters?
that. I've spoken to Moonshock. That makes sense.
She was one of my favorite characters because she was funny.
No, I mean, I haven't seen modern day anything. I haven't seen a movie since maybe what was it? Troy? I think the Eric Bana movie that was set in ancient Greece.
Is that the one with Brad Pitt as a star?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch that either.
And I only watched that because my dad said, "I'm going to the movies. Do you want to come with me?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" So that's what he wanted to watch.
Wasn't a bad movie. It was okay.
It was all right. It was fine.
I just knew right away that I wasn't going to like the 2016. I was like, they didn't have any of the main characters from the originals. And I was like, so you're remaking the original based off of that shit? No, I'm good. I like my childhood. Let's
have a look. Eric Bana, Troy. When 2004. Okay, so about 20 years ago.
Wow.
Is the last time I saw a movie.
He was also in the Transformers movies too.
Okay.
Robots in Disguise. You mean you haven't seen a new movie even at home?
Nope.
Wow, 20 years, long time to be out of contact.
Yeah. Well, when they stopped making good movies, I stopped watching movies.
Well, they're still making good movies.
X'd out.
Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of movies making big money.
Yeah. That's different from being good.
A lot of movies are winning awards, even People's Choice Awards.
Yeah, the last movie I saw in theaters was the last Godzilla movie that I don't think a single person liked it.
I
but
I Godzilla -1 or +1
yeah,
or something like that? I liked it.
I liked that they went for a weird comic feel to it. I liked that.
If they won an award for effects for that movie.
Yeah.
An Oscar or an Emmy or I don't know, a Tony Award. I have no idea what those awards are.
It's also
I actually do. I just thought it was funny.
If you're honestly an old school Godzilla fan, then you should know that the originals spawned out of being weirdly cringe. Like they were weird, but that's what made them so fucking amazing to watch.
Okay, so if they count, then I have seen the exclusive Paramount Plus South Park specials, like the post-COVID and stuff like that. If you want to count them as movies, then I've seen those.
Okay.
What was the one that was uncut? What was it called?
Bigger, Longer, and Uncut.
Yeah, there you go. You've seen those?
That was like back in the 90s.
Yeah. That's still still a good movie.
Oh yeah, it's an excellent movie.
Yeah.
Back when South Park was brilliant.
Yeah. I have a copy of Barbie. I actually bought the Blu-ray of Barbie just to say that I had it, kind of deal, but I have not watched it.
No, I haven't seen
it. That one yet again is a weird blend of like feminists being like feminists, but then the men going like, you know what, I side with Ken on this one.
Yeah, I've seen that opinion a lot. Most people are saying that Ken was basically doing things the right way, and then Barbie fucked everything up.
I thought it was going to be feminist bullshit. And when I first heard that there was feminist bullshit in, I was like, okay, I'm not going to watch this. But then I heard what you guys were saying. So if the spirit moved me, as it does, someday I probably will watch it. I mean, I've watched plenty of movies that have been not typical of me to watch. I mean, I've seen The Lake House. There's a lot of movies I've watched that people are like, you watched that movie? Yes. Yes, I did. But they end up being good movies, even if they're not movies that I gravitate towards. I mean, if you throw a Marvel movie at me, I'm going to fucking watch it. There's no two ways about it. I'm going to watch it. But
I admit that it amuses me that one ended up being such a foot in the mouth for the feminists. Like, even if that was their initial message, the fact that it was read so wrong by so many men. And in all honesty, if they were waiting on just women to support their movie, they weren't going to get it. I did play with Barbies. I didn't necessarily watch all the movies and shit. They were weird. But at no point was I going to go see their movie if I knew it was just feminist slop.
Yeah, I mean, why would you? Why give feminists money? That's just common sense.
Yeah.
It's so much politics when you could just have a fun movie. If it was just a fun movie, sure. No, I was happy that the men got one up on them for it.
Yeah,
It's really
I'm similar to Hammer when it comes to games. There's plenty of games I've played where people will be like, "Wait, you played that?" It's like, yeah, I've played Depression Quest. It's not good, but it's like everyone was making fun of Zoe Quinn, so I was like, let's see. It's a free game. Let's see if it's any good. It's not.
I'm also glad that you enjoyed it, Keeper Dan, because there were a lot of people in that movie that I do consider to be decent actors. Like, regardless of their political opinion, I do think Margot is a good actress. I just think she fell into like the worst kind of Hollywood trap. And I'll be real with you, they've treated her like shit too. Lord forbid that Barbie has a boy. Lord forbid she has a baby boy. Congratulations, Margot. It's none of my business, but congratulations on having a kid. But like, feminists went after her because Lord forbid Barbie have a baby boy first.
It's not like she did it on purpose. It's not like she said, "This baby is going to be a boy." It's like, no, it's just like.
And she's in the middle of the baby glow, Terry, when they're telling her this shit. I'm like, how do you expect women to be on your side when you're that fucking vile?
Yeah.
I wonder how that works. There's something about biology that I don't know. Whose DNA determines the sex of the child? Is it the woman's DNA or is it the man's DNA?
It's men's.
Is it?
Yep. Because it's either XX or XY. So the X is guaranteed from the woman's egg, and then the sperm is either going to be an X or a Y carrying sperm. So when that interacts with the egg, if it's an X sperm, you get a girl. If it's a Y sperm, you get a boy.
It makes sense because there was a joke from what was an older comedian, black guy, went to prison because he was using date rape drugs. Very popular.
Oh shit! I don't know, but
he had a TV show on for years and years. Was kind of seen as the father figure for the black society.
Bill
Who am I
Cosby?
thinking of? Bill Cosby. Thank you, man. It's tough having. Anyway, yeah, Bill Cosby did a joke where he said when his child had a baby and they had a girl, he went to his daughter's husband and said, "So, forgot to put the stem on the apple, huh?"
There you go.
Which I thought was the funniest thing. Now it makes sense what he was talking about.
Yeah. And there's a Ben Shapiro joke where he was talking to, I think he was talking about a transgender person, and he said, every cell in that man's body is male, with the ironic exception of some of his sperm.
Yeah.
It's like some of them are like female carrying.
It's got to be a great way. I'm sorry, go ahead, Jen.
Oh, no, you're good. You finished your thought.
There's got to be somewhere along the line of the argument when it comes to that kind of stuff. Somewhere along the line, someone has to say, you know, as far as the trans thing is, because we're on Rumble, we can talk about those. Wait a minute. No, we're not on Rumble anymore. I got to be careful what I say. Yeah. How do I say this? There's got to be a way of making the argument that if you say you are what you say you are, let me take a blood blood test, and let me ask you what your blood says, because I'm sure your DNA is in the blood, so they can run a DNA test against your blood to determine what you really are. Because supposedly, as I understand it, your DNA has that information.
It's also, that line of thinking is extremely old-fashioned and maybe even a little bit communist China. We don't necessarily need to rely on the child being male or female to help provide us later in life. Like, not in the Western world. That's not an issue, because both sexes can get work and do fine by themselves.
Except except for men. You can, if you're a man, you can't get hired anywhere because
we fucked it up.
Yeah. You're not bringing diversity, so you don't get a job.
Like, that's where I disagree with the feminists, because they've taken things too far. Like, when it's down the middle in the 80s and the 90s, where yes, both sexes can do well. They can both take care of their parents to a certain degree once they get to a certain point. And that's kind of what the ideal outlook was about. It was about being able to have the ability to take on jobs that we might not have been able to do, that we had the capacity to do. Does that mean every job? No, it fucking doesn't, because no man wants us working in some of those hard-ass jobs that the feminists don't have any interest in.
Yeah.
Kiradam says in chat, I don't care which gender my child would be. And I kind of agree and disagree with that. I don't care what my child's gender was. I do absolutely care what my child's sex is. Especially if she thinks that, or he thinks that she's not male or female, then it becomes a problem. I don't really care what my child's gender is, so that I hope that their gender matches their sex. I think I care about that. But if he's a male and he thinks he's a male, then I don't care about his gender. If she's female and she is a woman, I don't care about that either. So depending on how you look at it, if you analyze that point, I do care and I don't care, depending.
I think it's because some of us are still growing out of the age where, in all honesty, all you had to plan for when you were planning for the sex of a baby was what color are the clothes going to be? What are you going to go for the room?
Right. But I mean, you have to prepare for things like, well, he's a boy, so he's going to do these boy things. I better prepare for these boy things. It's what girl is going to do. She's going to do girl things. So I have to prepare for, buying some simple things, buying the corsage for her prom. There's little things that you do that are traditional, that you do for one or the other, that you have to prepare for. That's about as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and that's where I think the feminists and a lot of the propaganda we've been pushing, especially the last 20 years, has been vile.
And Kate is clarifying, she doesn't care if her child is male or female.
Yeah, neither do I.
What I assumed that she meant.
Neither do I. I don't really care. I do find that it will probably be easier to raise a boy than a girl. But I don't care if I had a girl or a boy. I mean, at this point, it's not going to happen, but I wouldn't care either way. As long as they're healthy, that's all that really matters.
Healthy, happy, and loved. It's really that simple.
Yeah. Well, if they have love for me and her mother, then they probably will be happy. So, yeah, I don't really care what sex my child is, if I were to ever have one, which I won't. But
yeah, I'm not gonna have any kids, so I don't need to worry about it. But in an alternate universe where I was interested in having kids, the genders or the sex not really relevant, because I think gender and sex are basically the same thing. I think it's only modern times that they pretend there's a difference, but really, if you're an adult male, you're a man. I don't care what delusions you may or may not have about your identity. I think that's what
Kiradam's saying too. If my daughter likes stereotypically boy things, or my son likes stereotypically girl things, I don't really care about that either, and I don't either. If my son or daughter if my daughter wants to play with toy trucks, great. Hey, I don't give a shit. Doesn't matter to me, as long as she realizes that she's a girl who likes trucks. That's fine.
And if I had a son and he played with Barbies, he would be allowed to, but I'd call him a faggot.
Yeah, you probably actually would. I mean, I certainly would discourage it. I'll tell you that. Instead of playing with Barbies, why don't you come to me and we'll go buy you a new pair of boots, and just deflect.
Yeah, no, I think I would encourage more traditional interests, but if they were like, no, I don't want to play with Superman, I want to play with Barbie, then like, there's only so much you can do. If that's what they're definitely interested in, then yeah, just let them have the Barbie.
You just ask them, why do you want to play with Barbies? And her response will probably be, well, she's got boobies. All right, kid, play all the Barbies you want. You know, my boy, a man at 9 years old.
I actually kind of agree with Hammer on that one. I don't think it's a bad thing to ask them why they're playing with the Barbie, because maybe we're heading towards this kid being gay. That could be the hard ass truth, but the truth is you don't just start off like you either are gay or you're not. All right, and if you weren't gay and you're playing with a doll, I would be wondering where he got the doll. Like if it's another kid, okay, I could shrug that off. It's another kid. Maybe they play with their siblings' toys or something. It's asking that is actually how you catch a predator. Yeah, that's why I would ask. I just want to make sure it's not a predator.
I remember when I was
the cops heard me saying the naughty word. They're after me.
YouTube cops are on their way. I remember
Worst case scenario, they're gay, and I'm okay with that too. You know, like I mean, I know that's coming to terms with that too, because that's a whole other lifestyle that you have to be prepared for. Actually, that you know.
I remember being 13, and my next door neighbor, well, not really next door, a couple houses up, was 12, and him and I used to, you know, make play catch and typical boy things. And he had a sister who was 9, and I went over and knocked on his door, and his sister was out on the patio in a sandbox, and she was playing with Barbies. I remember thinking to myself, why would anybody ever play with a Barbie? And this was when I was 13. You know, I never got a chance to be programmed yet. And already I was thinking, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? I just didn't get with girls.
Yeah, I never understood it either.
So Kevin, I agree with you too. I think that's why Hammer was saying if he's playing with the Barbie dolls because he's interested in boobies, he's okay with that because he understands why he's into that. Like there you have to have room for all of it. Like they could be gay, they could be straight, they could just be a tomboy, they could just be a guy. Maybe the guy's just kind of more into. Some guys are actually into medical stuff, you know, so they start kind of wanting to study a body early in life. It's what they're doing with the body that you want to make sure. Like, are they a psycho when they're playing with the doll, or are they just kind of studying it? Because they could just legitimately be into medical. Early in life, it starts, you know, like, what does a vagina look like? What does a penis look like? Well, that's how they figure that out, you know?
Quick note here for everybody.
Sorry, YouTube.
Johnny Hellcat is in chat. He is our Tuesday night host.
So he's not doing Thursdays anymore? He's only doing the Tuesdays?
Correct.
Okay.
That's kind of the problem with me doing the Wednesday show is I can't fill in on Tuesday or Thursday because they're right next to Wednesday. If I was doing like a Sunday show and they needed somebody to do Thursday, well, there's a couple of people between there. I wouldn't have a problem doing that. But because it's always Tuesdays and Thursdays, it seems to have a blank spot. So I wouldn't mind doing 2 a week. I guess YouTube probably would hate it, but
yeah, I mean, you don't want to overdo it. If like you know that you'd burn out if you did 2 in a row.
Well, it would be a completely different stream. Let me tell you that. I would not try to replicate Wednesday.
Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea. Yeah.
Not saying that I wouldn't want either one of you on the show with me, but I wouldn't be doing things like politics and current events or anything like that. It wouldn't be so structured either. I would do something completely different. And now for something completely different. Where'd that come from?
Yeah, Monty Python.
There you go. I had to ask the guy with the foot.
Yeah. No, I mean, I watched so much Monty Python as a kid. There's no way I wouldn't catch that.
Hey, Six is in the chat.
Hi, Six.
It's yeah, no, Monty Python was like my entire childhood. It's like I even got like this weird German episode like that had subtitles. Like that's how much I love Monty Python. Is like Fliegende Circus. That is like okay, as long as it's got subtitles and I can read it, I'm buying this VCR.
I always liked Monty Python. It was more my older brother's kind of thing. He liked it far more than I did, but I liked it because he liked it so much. And some of the things were funny. The Lumberjack song kills me.
Yeah.
And even the transitions of, and now for something completely different, was never the same transition. It'd be like some guy in a suit in front of a table with a microphone.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
Completely different. A man with three buttons.
Which in itself was something completely different. It just, that whole thing made me laugh.
And 6 is quite correct. I do not like spam. That is true.
Spam, 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 spam. What was the thing about the rabbit, the killer rabbit? Wasn't that a Monty Python thing?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that was the Holy Grail. The quest for the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
It's actually you finished, Terry.
Oh no, they said like Tim the Enchanter was warning them about the vicious monster, and he's like, "Is it behind the rabbit?" He's like, "It is the rabbit."
It's kind of a thing in some old English theologies, especially the stitchwork artworks, where they'll have like a rabbit that's all geared up in military outfits, and they're fighting this rabbit, and it kind of looks like the rabbit's winning. It's supposed to be a play off of words because the rabbit's probably representing a different, enemy. But I think that's where they got the rabbit from.
I haven't seen Monty Python literally in years.
They still had some of the best comedians. Some of them are still alive.
Benny Hill was amazing.
I just don't know all of them, Terry. I don't look it up anymore because I just get sad.
Yeah, I know Tommy Jones is dead. I know Graham Chapman died a long time ago. I think the other 4 are still alive. I'm pretty sure John Cleese, Eric Idle, Michael Palin, Terry Gilliam. I'm pretty sure they're all still alive.
I'm cheering for them. I just don't look it up, because one, I think it's morbid to do.
Yeah.
No, I hope they're doing fine.
No, well, Graham Chapman died like in ages ago, like long time ago. I think it might have been in the 90s or even earlier, maybe in the 80s. Yeah. But then Terry Jones died, and I remember that was all over my social media. That's how I know that. I didn't look up, is Terry Jones alive? I just remember his death was big news all over social media. And then I'm pretty sure the other 4 are still alive. I haven't heard of them dying if they did.
Look at what Mr. Yes said in chat.
Yeah, I could see that.
Monty Python and the Holy Grail will be re-released in theaters in 2025 to celebrate the 50th anniversary. This release date is May 4th, so that's coming up pretty soon. Today's the 30th. It's this week. Or early next week, Saturday. 2025 Box Office Mojo and Cinemark confirm this information.
And Johnny Hellcat is correct. Eric Idle does still have me blocked on Twitter.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious that Eric Idle blocked me. It's like my favorite thing that's ever happened on Twitter. It's still my pinned tweet. If you go to my profile, my pinned tweet is me having fun with the fact that I'm blocked by Eric Idle.
Yeah. Well, Twitter certainly has changed since back then.
Oh, yeah.
Back then, it wasn't under Elon, was it?
No. This is well before Elon took over.
Yeah. I don't have as much problem with people blocking me as I used to have. It still happens every once in a while, but I used to get blocked pretty regularly. And I think I'm more caustic now than I was back then, yet not much blocking going on.
Well, I think blocking people has been devalued in that it doesn't stop them seeing your stuff anymore. So I think that might take some of the fun out of it for people. Like if I go to Steve Shives' page, I can see what he's tweeting about, even though he's blocked me like everyone else. And I think that might be part of why blocking is less common nowadays, because you can't really deny them access to your stuff anymore.
Well, you can't follow these people. You have to go to their page and look anytime you want to see what they're saying.
Yeah, you can't follow them. You can't reply to them. So, I mean, if you don't want to see replies from someone, blocking them still accomplishes that. But if you want to talk shit behind someone's back, you can't block them and stop them from seeing what you're saying.
Yeah, you can't even repost.
No.
It's still kind of a no if you call someone the R word too. I get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I didn't know that. I thought that was pretty much open game.
Yeah, I think retard is pretty much back on the table as something that you're allowed to say. There was a while where you would get in a lot of trouble for saying it, but
I think if you
I still get the odd flag for harassment for
if you combine it with something else, like if you make a thing and say this girl, you know, you pick out a class of people and call that class of person, or you just say, I think if you're on Twitter and you just say, well, geez, that's retarded. You know, I don't think they're going to bother you with that. But if you say this person or this group of people or something like that, I think that's when you're going to get flagged.
Basically.
Sorry for bumping my microphone there.
No, you're okay. It's just that's kind of the point of using the R word is calling someone to their face.
Yeah, you would. Yeah. I have much more fun going after what someone says than who they are.
Yeah,
so
that's just,
I usually only use that word when I'm responding to something they've said. So I'll usually say that when I'm telling them to their face, you know, I'm calling them the R word. But I will put that in the text that this is why I'm calling you this.
Johnny says, I can't see Shive's tweets. And first of all, good job. Because nobody wants to see that. But if you wanted to see it, you can go to his Twitter page and see it. But why would you want to?
Like, I just went to Eric Idle's page and I can see all his tweets. But it just says Eric Idle has blocked you. So, I mean, I couldn't reply to him if I particularly wanted to.
Could play the, what's the thing Bering does all the time when Eric brings up Steve Shive? He has him zoomed in saying the word sperm. Using sperm. It's like, man, don't ever let that come out of your face on video.
And
the thing is, he's a Star Trek fan, so I can only hate him so far.
From what I've heard, his Star Trek content was good. Yeah. It was only when he went off the rails with social justice that he became kind of a laughingstock.
Right.
He also rubbed the wrong elbows with the atheist community because he just assumed that everyone atheist would be liberal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never assume everyone's on the same page just because they're a little bit
and really challenge yourself. That was the Christy Winters line. And KVDM says you can still screenshot, which is true. You can screenshot even if you're blocked.
Yeah, there you go.
How would they stop you?
KVDM Sprim.
Yes.
Yeah. Does anybody follow trigonometry?
No. I might follow Constantine. Like I follow like 1,000 different accounts. He might be one of them, but I haven't seen him recently. So
I do because he has just been the one person. No, not trigonometry.
I don't follow Francis, and I don't think I followed the trigonometry account, but I might follow Constantine. I'm not sure.
I think I follow one of the guys who used to be on their show, but he was also on the Lotus, so those guys get around.
There's a new episode of Trigonometry came out today where they talk to a feminist. It's 2.5 hours. And man, you want to talk about crazy town. If you want to laugh your ass off, this is and be frustrated and yell at your screen and all that kind of thing. This is a really good one. I mean, I follow Trigonometry and they have good guests on, usually political people, governors and stuff like that. And what they say is interesting. I don't find anything too sensational about it, but that's not this episode. This episode's off the rails. I mean, I've been watching the first half hour of it. That's the reason why I was a little late tonight. As I was watching it, I couldn't just pull myself away. I watched the first half hour of it. I'm like, I'm laughing and I'm screaming and then I'm laughing again. And because he's playing the center and she is way off left. Like she's on the left side of progressive. And she's written a book. So every other word out of her mouth is about the book. And he's like, look, I understand you got the book. I understand your reason for being here is because you have a book. But I really want to talk about what you think more than what you wrote. And she just kept on pushing the book the entire time. It was really...
Buy my book.
Yes.
Buy my book.
Like I say in my book. Was almost every sentence was like I say in my book. So, but if you don't follow him, just you know, for those people listening tonight, you want to get a little excited on both sides of the point, you know, because Constantine comes in and squashes her a couple times, and it's glorious. So if you want to see both sides parrying each other in a good back and forth, this is probably the best I've seen in the last 6 months. Best example of that.
And yes, it turns out I do follow Constantine Kissin.
Yeah.
I just checked on Twitter. I do follow him.
Yeah. I don't know. Does he promote himself on his personal?
Yeah, I mean,
So he probably pointed this out.
He retweeted the trigonometry post shilling the interview with the feminists. So.
There you go. Yeah, that's the one. If you get a chance.
And to keep it in, the feminist's name is Deborah Frances White.
Yes. Apparently somebody big in the UK, because I don't think
I've never heard of it, but that's what the tweet is saying.
I don't think she's Australian. I don't think she's American. I think she's from the UK somewhere, probably England.
Okay. Yeah, I know nothing about this woman. I've never heard her name before.
It's always a book says. It's funny to hear Six say that. Yeah.
Oh, and yes, buy my book.
Oh.
Feminists seem to have lost all credibility. I mean, did they have any ever?
They did it initially because, you know, a lot of the initial feminists were first, second wave, but third wave feminists, I think they're pretty much done. They're pretty toasted. Well, they're pretty toasted.
They lost, and I hate bringing it to that topic again, but they lost when they brought them into the bathroom. It is when they lost.
Yep. You're absolutely right, Jen. You're absolutely right.
The amount of feminists that I've seen over the last couple of weeks who've come to terms with the fact that, well, yes, you were being kind to some trans people. That's true. But you also let in a bunch of predators. So now we're fucked over. That's why we have to put the boot down and say no to people that probably are genuinely nice, because they did let in a bunch of predators.
Yeah.
And Tia is reminding you to do the music poll.
Yes, I'm in the middle of doing it right now as we're talking.
Some people do keep her damn. Some of the feminists have like literally brainwashed themselves to believing that like, you know, if you claim you're trans, that just automatically means that you're in the category. And it's like, no, it's not undeserving of kindness or some level of human decency, but it's not the same thing. And as somebody who doesn't have children of my own, kids come first. And that's what happens when it comes to the bathroom. So just so you know, Terry, I was once told off by a mother once for being in the family room, because predators aren't just limited to men. Sometimes they're women too. So if you don't have kids and you're not supposed to be in that bathroom, you're not supposed to be in that fucking bathroom.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, I wouldn't use a family toilet. That seems
it was a little bit of a female privilege moment, Terry, because I'd kind of gotten used to using them because, you know, you don't think anything of it, and then it's like, well, no, actually,
no, but I think of them as female bathrooms. I don't I don't draw any distinction between the family public restroom and the female public restroom. To me, they're the same thing.
Oh, at first that's what I kind of thought too, but then when she pointed that out, I was like, no, she's right. She's not wrong. Like, yes, it is a dual. Like, you know, I was like, you know what? From that point on, I was like, with all respect, she's right. So I didn't use it anymore.
And you know, I do like Thierry's saying feminists just prove that men make better women. Yeah, I mean, didn't Caitlyn Jenner win Woman of the Year? Yeah. Like, men are better at being women than women are. That's how fucking good we are.
I got into that fight today on Twitter. Girls telling me how like men can't survive without women. I was the absolute opposite is definitely true. I don't want to get Jen or any of the girls in chat mad at me, but with exceptions of reproduction, you could take every woman off this planet and it wouldn't really make much difference. I know you'd be mad at me for saying that. I'm not saying women are bad people. I don't have love for everybody, especially Jen. and PreAmp and everybody that's in the chat and all that kind of stuff. But back come to facts. We've seen what happens when you put 10 women on an island.
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
put 10 men on an island. We've seen that played out
The,
already.
the,
so.
the Bear Grylls thing, where they even tried to weight it in favor of the women, and they still just floundered.
It's also, it's not just that. I do blame this on the female side. It's not that you couldn't have left 10 females on an island. It's just modern day women are so up their own ass on what they do and don't know that they're not willing to admit when they're fucking wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big problem, because honestly, if they'd put women out there who were actually quite capable of caring for themselves, which they do exist, it would have been a different story. Like I'm talking about like farm girls and women who've actually succeeded in building something of their own. They do exist, but we don't put them in charge of anything. We put the loudmouths who are kind of a bunch of money launderers in charge, and then act like we don't.
There's a Twitter thing going around. I think it's from TikTok. It's a guy late at night. He pulls up and there's a streetwalker. He pulls up to the streetwalker and he says, "How much to tell me I'm right?" And she says $500, and she hands her $500. And he says, he's in the car. And he says to her, he looks at her and she says, "You were right all along." And he immediately starts crying and drives away.
It's not that we're inferior, PreAmp. If you look at women historically,
no, you're not inferior.
If you look at them historically and take the feminists out of it, we actually have accomplished a lot. In fact, a lot of the feminists do is they twist a lot of what we've done, which is not what the men are necessarily doing. Sometimes they'll take the piss out of you, but that doesn't mean that they're denying what you've done. It's just the current day women, they aren't the ones showing us that stuff. They're just whining. They're whining.
But I think it depends, because like inferior at what? Like inferior at survival, yes. Like unambiguously, yes. But inferior as people, of course not. I mean,
no.
The species would die within a single generation if there were no women. Obviously, women are very valuable, like components in society. We do need them. They are equally valuable to the men, but men are better at surviving in the wild than women are. That's not denigrating women. That's just reality.
It's like, let me put it to you this way. One of the few queens that we could look at, like on our side of the ocean in terms of the West, the last time they did a show about her, they basically implied that her mom was black, and that's the only way that works. You know, because Queen Elizabeth I is still kind of acknowledged as being admirable. No, she wasn't able to fight on the field. A lot of kings actually weren't capable of fighting on the field, but she did a really good job of managing England.
Yeah. And Kevin says, at least we're not behind the vast majority of violent crime. Yeah, I freely admit men are more violent than women. That's another thing that is objectively true.
A lot of this stuff has a lot of nuance that I don't think you guys are hitting on. When you say men are more violent than women, men are more violent than women once they're born. But before they're born, women are far more violent.
Tell it to what was it, Queen of Marjou? Because like she was happy to take your head off. Do as you're told, or you're gonna.
Testosterone does increase aggression. That is one of the effects that testosterone has on the body.
Yeah.
So yes, men having far more testosterone are more aggressive, and because we've got the physical strength to use violence, that aggression often takes the form of violence. Far more than it does with women.
It is a flaw in our biology that we have so much testosterone that we find it difficult to control it.
Yeah, but like women don't have the physical strength, so their aggression is more indirect. So they're not going to like go out and punch someone in the face, because that would be life-threatening. That would be stupid. They'll undermine them socially, and they'll do more indirect sabotage than outright physical violence. And, you know, it's just the difference between the sexes.
Here's an interesting fact. Our biology, male biology, our sexual drive is based on testosterone. Without testosterone, we become completely ambiguous to sex at all.
Yeah, true.
Now, keep in mind that compared to women, we have 1,600 times the amount of testosterone a woman has. Now, ladies, think about this. What sex drive you have, turn that up by 1,600%.
Yeah.
Now, then tell me that you don't get frustrated. Tell me that you don't. You know,
it's also like just as a species, we're limited in terms of times where women were really in support of harder tasks. Like if I think of a basic position, it would be like a blacksmith's wife. So no, she isn't doing the big work that he's doing. She might help out with little things. Like a woman can make a nail. A woman can make small chains. They actually do have records of such things.
Yeah.
You know, and that woman, I wouldn't want to tie with her because that level of work already makes her a little bit tougher than other women.
Sure.
You know, like what you do in the past is an awful lot of what evolves you in the future. So if your biggest task was like woolworking, which okay, we're going back to England because a lot of what the high end people were doing was woolworking. A lot of their peasants were the ones like wringing out the wool so they get the crap and the piss out of it, which is what they use to clean it. You know, that's a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of heavy duty work. You know, that's going to build up some strength, but you're not the guy who's out chopping lumber. You know, it is that if we weren't doing that for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we don't have the body structure, which just means that we don't have the density. That doesn't mean some women, like I said, if I was like a little farmer boy, I wouldn't go to tie with the blacksmith's wife.
Well, I have to agree with what Keyerdam is saying. She says, but at least in the day, we're all human, and we're all just people, and she's right.
Yeah.
We both have things that the other doesn't have.
Of course.
And that's just based on basically on our biology, somewhat to sociology, but mostly how we're born. So in that perspective is right. My problem is not with women. My problem with people who deny reality. That's my big argument. It's not that women are just shit, fuck them. That's not the point I'm coming across here. What I'm saying is we have certain talents that you absolutely have to depend on. And denying that is what drives me out of my fucking mind. And as far as men's little helpers, I'm not a religious person, but if you read the text about how woman was created under the Catholic religion, at least, that's kind of how women came to be. He made man realize that he was lonely and made women to help him. Now, I'm not going to argue the religious side of this because I'm not a religious person, but there is some things out there floating in the ether that kind of, you know, if you're a religious person, they're going to argue with you on this. I'm not a religious person, so I'm not going to argue with this, but just be aware that that does exist out there.
See, but like even as someone who doesn't believe in God, I think the Bible still has value because it's describing what life was like back then. Like even if you take all the like supernatural elements out of it, they're still basically describing society as it was at 0 AD or slightly before. And so their attitudes on men and women still basically reflect reality because humans haven't changed that much in the last couple thousand years.
That's a misnomer. But babies are female by birth. No, babies are neuter by birth. And if left alone, will become female. But they are neuter at birth. When they are zygotes and fetuses, they don't have a sex yet at all of any kind. So they're by science, that is neuter. That's not either way. If they don't get a boost of testosterone during the development process, they will become female by default. But they're not female by default. They are neuter by default. I hear that a lot. That's not. There was our argument on Twitter about this, and the person said, "Well, what about Madame Curie? We wouldn't know about radiation." I was like, "You're right. Marie Curie did discover radiation, and Marie Curie also died of aplastic anemia because she didn't protect herself from radiation. So she discovered that it exists, but she didn't realize it was going to kill her."
Right.
So when someone throws her name in front of me, I'm like, yeah, but she also died from her discovery. So
it's also really hard to take a position on what people were thinking about in the past, like especially with the way modern people do it, because it's so easy to want to think like they think like we do. But
Yeah.
you could be looking at a picture with a bunch of babies in it and not realize that all the babies are different sexes because they're dressed the same for a reason. You know, back in the day, you know, when we weren't all like countries the way that we were, you know, we were like lords fighting each other for dominance.
Hmm.
If you were in a town and you were being raided, they would go after your little boys before they would go after your little girls.
Right.
Because you're not expecting little girls to grow up to be soldiers. You're expecting little boys to do that.
Absolutely.
So when you're like sitting there talking about like female oppression and things like that, and you're like, well, all the little boys have to look like little girls, you know,
I get
so
you.
that
So that they get spared from the invading tribe.
it's like, yes, life is hard, and it was really hard back then. There were times where things weren't fair. It is true. There were times where things weren't fair, but when you realize how it had to be balanced for things to work, nobody had it easy. Nobody.
No, of course not.
Even the royals were their own problem half the time. Like, you see stories about royals where you're like almost happy that you were a peasant because you weren't involved.
But from what I've heard, like even the poorest people in America today have access to more amenities than King Henry VIII did in his time.
Yeah.
So it's better to be poor in 2025 than king in like the 1700s or whenever it was. That's how much, you know, we've improved since then.
Yeah, we are kind of a blend that works together, and we've worked. We that's how we've worked, and we've gotten so much better. But no, I'd rather focus on like fixing problems we have current day instead of crying about the past. But if you're going to make a stupid game or a movie, don't make shit up.
And THUR is actually correct. Pink used to be a male color, though he did put a capital P. Maybe he's talking about the singer, in which case I don't think she was a male color. So not sure about that one, but if we pretend he's talking about the color pink, then yes.
I do know that, yes. Yeah.
KVDM says, why do men have nipples? Because it is not evolutionarily advantageous for us to not have them. They're redundant, but there's no harm in having them, so there's no evolutionary pressure to not have them.
Well, I would ask the question, why do apes have nipples? Why do bulls have nipples?
Yeah, same reason.
All male animals have nipples, as far as I know.
Well,
I don't know of any that
doesn't. For the same
doesn't.
reason. It's that it is not worth, there's no evolutionary pressure to remove them because there's no negative aspect to having them. It's like if they were actively harming us, then the people would find that they would like slowly get smaller and smaller and eventually disappear over, you know, over the generations. But there's no negative consequence to nipples, so like, sure, just leave them there.
I think it still does something for your body anyway. Like I think it still regulates for you just the same as it does for females, because like we don't always have babies.
Yeah, I really don't know what benefit nipples have for men, though. I can't think of one. They're just in modern day, they're just annoying because you can't like run for any long distances. You have to put tape over them to get them from getting raw.
Well, the reason I say that is because you have lymph nodes too. Like that's where a lot of your lymph nodes are, and lymph nodes are really is a way that your body processes things. So like if you were sick or ailing, it processes through that too. So, you know, you having that is still a benefit for you. You just don't need it for anything else.
Yeah. The KVDM is saying I was told it's because we start out female. I mean, I don't know anything about that. That seems like something Hammer knows more about. But I still think my answer is fundamentally correct, is that there's no reason for us to evolve a separate distinction between men and women in regards to nipples. There's not enough evolutionary incentive for us to not have them.
I'm going to go with Grok again. Only because I think Grok is a better explainer of things like this than Google is.
Oh yeah, easy.
And I'll just read you the what he says or she says. I don't know if Grok is male or female, but
it says
it's Musk.
Says it's Musk. It's male. It says, quote, men have nipples because all human embryos start with the same basic body plan, regardless of sex. Early in the development, before sex chromosomes, XX or XY, fully dictate physical traits, the blueprint for nipples and mammary tissue is already in place. This happens around weeks 4 to 6 of gestation. Keep in mind that XXXY determine male or female. So XXXY is determined at conception. So already they've been determined to be male or female immediately after conception. When the embryo forms structures called mammary ridges, these ridges can develop into breasts and nipples, but in males, they typically remain rudimentary due to the absence of high estrogen levels, which drive best development in females. So that's what Grok said.
Mhm.
So they're just part of being mammals. Mammals
Mhm.
start off with just having them. So in case they need them, they don't have to grow them. They'll already be there.
Yeah. Mr. Yes says, do dinosaurs have nipples? Probably not. I think it's only mammals that do.
You'd have to ask
I
a
mean,
dinosaur.
dinosaurs laid eggs, so probably
Yeah,
not.
exactly. That's my point. It's like, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure it's only mammals that have nipples. Like, there's no reason for lizards to have them.
I mean, the
Would-
direwolves have nipples.
Did we ever solve the issue of whether dinosaurs were reptiles or birds?
I think they did have feathers, but as far as I'm aware,
So from my understanding from the dinosaur world, it really does depend on the species that you're talking about, because some species are kind of on a different tree branch. Like, it's not that they didn't start off from a similar place, but they've gone so far from that place that they're no longer in the same species.
that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I can believe it.
So, like, if you think, I'm bad with their names, so I'm just gonna go with Triceratops. Triceratops is a different group from sauropods, and sauropods are a different group from, like, say, a T-Rex. Yes, they come from a similar group, but they've split off to such a degree that I don't think they're on the same path anymore. So whether or not they had feathers at that point, they have to wait for skin before they're gonna really know. Like, they do know that some of them did have feathers because of the skin.
This is just
Wow.
kind of a random aside, but I've heard that the Cretaceous period is actually closer to current day than it is to the Triassic period. Like, that's how long the dinosaurs ruled the earth. That the Cretaceous period, which ended 65 million years ago, is closer to current day than it is to the Triassic period, which is like 150 million years ago.
They also have signs where, like, some species have gone in and out. Like, you know, they think they're extinct, but then they crop back in. So it's just one of those things with evolution. Like, I would wait for skin. It's one of those things where they will eventually find some. Like, they do have places where they're still going. But they found parasaur skin. And I'm still not sure on that one. Like, I got the impression it was kind of like they had a little bit of something that could be like a feather, but at the same time they had something that was more like a leather. So, you know.
Six in chat has been telling us about the wonders of the zygotes, and how they control all the lymph nodes, and their music theory is music fact.
When Sora Luna streams, it's called Sora Podcast. I didn't know Sora had a podcast.
I don't think she
Me
does.
Are you okay, Six?
I miss her too. I haven't talked to her in a while. She's probably
Yeah.
in the same boat as me, because BC was in solidarity as far as I'm concerned. They're a little bit more hippie than my province. So seeing them as blue as they were, I was like, hey, bro, I'll take you on our side. You know, we all lost, but at least we're all together.
I mean, I didn't know Sora was that old. BC, she's older than Hammer.
Yeah, I miss her. She has a very calming voice. I haven't heard from her in a long time. Tonight's music, Bright Lights, really?
So it seems.
It would be the one song I would pick,
There
which
you
of
go.
course made it win. So,
It's the way it works.
wow, that's
And it was a 3-way tie for second place.
I know. I was almost thinking about just breaking the 3-way tie just to pick one, but I was like, yeah, it doesn't really matter.
No need.
Not with bright lights being out so far in the lead. I was like,
yeah, no point.
What am I telling people? So bright lights it is.
Yep, they want to listen to what they want to listen to. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like the slowest of all the songs. Bright lights. Oh. Are we done talking about dinosaurs?
Yeah. I mean, it's more fun than political stuff.
You know much more about this kind of stuff than I thought. I mean, I didn't know this was a thing for you.
I'm from Alberta. I try not to let that affect me that much, but when you've we've got a dinosaur park that connects to Montana. And so we have a lot of museums dedicated to dinosaurs.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll get out of here. Thanks, fam, as always, for chatting with us tonight. If you can't wait for the next Wednesday show, remember the meetings are live every evening except Thursday, because Johnny's on Tuesday now. With most shows starting around 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 6 days a week. Hosts and start times are linked in my description down below. Don't forget about the Rumble pre-show. That stream starts usually a half an hour before YouTube, and that's where we determine the music for the night. So if you want to get in on the information, secret information, you'll see that on the Rumble pre-show. We will be back next Wednesday at 9 p.m. as usual. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll see you again next week. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.